Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the word Spot and Media. It's been a day since Prime Minister Andrew Holness declared a state of emergency for St. James. But how are persons coping? Our reporter Anthony Lugg is in St. James and he is covering the state of emergency. He has been speaking with a visitor from Canada.
Thanks, Andrea. Now I'm here in St. James along the area referred to as the Hip Strip. We visited some of the volatile communities earlier. What I can tell you is that the security forces remained in the communities last night, which means residents woke up to strong police military presence this morning. Andrea, I would also like to add that the police have indicated that there will be more operations today, more searches and more patrols. I'm currently joined by Tova Gesa. Hi, talk to me about your trip here.
Hi, we just arrived last night, and today and yesterday there seems to be a huge police presence. We saw a lot of not such nice areas that were in the area, and we feel that we have to walk in couples and we have to be careful where we're walking, and that the police presence is definitely a huge thing here.
So how do you feel about this though?
You know what? I'd like it to be a safer place. I wish it was more safe, and we all have to make a positive change. Each one of us has to go out and be careful where we're walking. We have to also look, and we have to be vigilant in what we do, and we have to make sure that we're walking not very late at night, and we're walking during the daytime in very well-lit areas.
All right, thanks, Tova Gaze. I'd also like to add, Andrea, that business places were also told to close early last night. The details are still sketchy at this moment, but I'll keep you up to date as the day progresses. It's back to you, Andrea.
Thank you very much. Our reporter Anthony Lugg in St. James, where a state of a public emergency was declared yesterday. Meanwhile, the Canadian government has warned its citizens traveling to and from Montego Bay, St. James to exercise caution during the state of emergency. The Canadian government has advised those staying at resorts in affected areas to restrict their movements or use transportation they have arranged or those provided by the resort. Canadian citizens were also urged to utilize the services of tour operators for excursions and travel to and from the airport. St. Anne has recorded its third murder since the start of the year. The latest occurred about 11:30 Thursday night along Church Street in St. Anne's Bay. The victim has been identified as 42-year-old taxi driver Peter McCoy of Bottom in Clamstead in Limehall. He was found inside his car with a gunshot wound to the left side of his chest. TVJ News understands that residents heard a sound and realized that the car had crashed into a wall. The police were alerted and the deceased was found around the steering wheel. There was also a single bullet hole to the right side of the windscreen of the car. The police believe he was shot at a different location and was trying to reach the hospital when he lost consciousness and crashed. A 26-year-old man is in hospital under police guard following an alleged gun battle with cops in St. Thomas Thursday morning. It's reported that about 2 o'clock, the police responded to information that armed men were in the Albion housing scheme. On their arrival, masked men engaged the police in a shootout. When the shooting ended, the man was seen on the ground along with a 9mm pistol. He was taken to hospital and the other men escaped. The incident is being investigated by the Independent Commission of Investigations. You name it, they have it. A marketplace within the confines of the country's detention facilities. On Wednesday, a police team carried out an extensive search of the Halfway Tree Police lockup, where a number of illegal contraband were found in the possession of inmates. Commanding Officer of the Detention and Courts Division of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Superintendent Leon Clunis, gave an update.
Surprising, I just couldn't believe when the team found 23 phones, 23 cellular phones which include high phones, high-end phones, I would call them. I can't believe 79 lighters. 79 lighters were taken from the cells, among other contrabands. Over 2,000 Jamaican dollars.
Says the contraband was found in a restricted area for inmates, and it's a cause for concern.
Have to stop this if we're going to get this organization moving forward. These phones cannot get in there by themselves. There must be a coordinated effort and a strategy to get them in. Inmates cannot take phones in because there's an administration policy and procedure as to how we should operate in the lockups. We reach a stage where we can't take it anymore.
And we now go back to our coverage of the state of a public emergency in St. James. Our reporter Kirk Wright has been on the ground. Kirk, what's the latest?
Thank you very much, Andrea. Yesterday we were in the Flanker community. Today we are in Norwood, another volatile community. And things are pretty much the same as they were yesterday. The security forces have settled down and they're continuing their search of private and public motor vehicles. In fact, if you can see right behind me, that's exactly what's happening. The thing we're checking on today, though, is how the state of public emergency is affecting smaller businesses. In fact, I'm standing beside a car wash you might not be able to see, but it's empty. And the people here have said to me that on a normal day, you know, the place will be buzzing with activity. There's another bar in front of me, and the proprietors have said the exact same thing. So we're focusing on that today to see to the extent at which the state of emergency is continuing to affect business here. We did speak to a number of business people on the Hip Strip, and you know, we kind of gauge as to how they felt about the state of emergency affecting their business as opposed to the crime. And most people say they would prefer to have the state of emergency as opposed to, you know, the place running as lawless as it was before the state of emergency. So we continue to monitor everything here in Montego Bay, the security forces and businesses, and how the people, how receptive the people are to the changes here in the city. Andrea?
Thank you very much. Our reporter Kirk Wright reporting from St. James, where the state of a public emergency has been declared. And in the St. Catherine North Police Division, the church has unveiled plans to maintain a reduction in murders. The matter was discussed at the latest meeting of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation. TVJ's Krista Campbell reports.
More than 30,000 persons killed in Jamaica over the past 45 years. During that period, Spanish Town in St. Catherine earned the reputation as one of the most murderous cities in the island. Recently, it's been eclipsed by Montego Bay, St. James, but now the St. Catherine North Police Division, in which the old capital falls, is recording a decline in murders. With 135 recorded murders in 2017, although a decline from the previous year, the police and the clergy want a more significant reduction.
I think if we can solve the problem of crime and violence here, the rest of Jamaica will be okay.
So for 2018, Bishop Rowan Edwards of the Spanish Town Ministers Fraternal says the church will be taking a more active stance. He announced a protest against crime.
We want to march from Greendale right to the LOJ complex. We're going to take that march, and I would like to see all councillors who has an intent to see Spanish Town transform. You lead the charge. You are leaders. All councillors and MPs in this area should go ahead while the pastors and all the religious leaders stand with you and send a message to all the negative forces here in Spanish Town and all across Jamaica to let them know that we are not going to put up with this.
And noting that the spiral in crime is a direct threat to the tourist industry and businesses, Bishop Edwards says the plan is to have a march every quarter in 2018.
We want to launch this with all the churches in Spanish Town, violence free, for 4 months. And after 4 months, we take it further. Because we went down by 12%, we want to make it better for 2018.
Superintendent Walsford Hardy, who's in charge of operations in the St. Catherine North Police Division, says gangs are responsible for 80% of the murders committed in the parish, noting that the two main gangs in the island operate in Spanish Town. However, he says while that fact has made crime fighting all the more challenging over the years, the police have seen improvements in 2017.
We used to have 24-hour presence in some communities, and I'm going to tell you, we have downgraded those communities because we no longer have 24-hour presence in them. So we produce them on an ad hoc basis. March Pen is one of them. De La Vega, Jones Avenue, New Nursery, Thompson Pen, and I must tell you this, Laristan. Those communities have transformed significantly. These communities used to bleed. And I can tell you, if those communities can change, all of the communities can.
He says the police in the division are on a mission to get murder figures below 100 for 2018, but he laments that the fear of crime remains a challenge in getting some residents to report crimes. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the St. Catherine North Police say they are working to put a lid on crime in Greendale, Spanish Town, where one person has been killed every day since Sunday. The latest incident happened about 10:05 Thursday morning. Residents claim the police shot and killed 26-year-old Ricardo Dixon, better known as Ricky, while he stopped at a house on the main road. The police have, however, refuted the claims that they are responsible for his death.
By virtue of members seeing the police on the scene that quick, then the news is spread that the man was killed by the police. But it's not so. All right, the static team police patrol that was placed, particularly in that zone, based on some incidents of crimes that have been taking place along that stretch of road there in the Greendale area. And they're there to see how much they can counter the efforts of criminals trying to commit crimes along that stretch.
In news overseas, the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics may not be the only parade North Korea is planning on participating in next month. Invitations sent to diplomats and satellite imagery suggest it's preparing for a major military parade on the eve of the Olympic Games, which begins on February 9. We go to the CNN for more.
When you consider, Aisha, what we've seen on the peninsula just over the last year, the last 2 years, it has been incredibly tense here. There have been discussions about whether there should be a so-called preemptive strike by the United States. What would happen if another Korean war broke out? But now, just a few weeks after we've been talking about that, you have both sides agreeing to play nice, agreeing to be under the same flag. So it is a massive change from what we've been talking about. It is a significant development. Now, of course, whether it lasts beyond the Olympics, we simply don't know. But for the Olympics, the fact that they'll come out under this flag, which shows an undivided Korean peninsula, is significant. It first happened in 1991. I think the first Olympics was the Sydney Olympics in the summer of the year 2000. And the fact that there's going to be an inter-Korean team as well, this women's ice hockey team, shows that North and South Korea are serious, at least when it comes to the Olympics, about working together. Of course, they do have to get through one more hurdle. They have to meet with the IOC on Saturday in Switzerland, and they'll decide exactly what they can do, because obviously the registration for the Olympics has passed.
And in sports, former in-sports officer Lloyd Morgan says he is tired of waiting on monies owed to him by the government-run institution. Morgan says he is yet to receive payments owed to him since he was relieved of his post in 2016. TVJ's Spencer Darlington tells us more.
The former national footballer and a cricketer who worked with in sports from 1977 showed TVJ Sports letters dating to as far back as 2016, which acknowledged the termination of his services and promised to pay him his entitlements as soon as possible. But a change in administration, among other things, has seemingly hindered the payout process. He says the new administration contacted him in September of 2017 and promised to resolve the situation promptly.
Them carry to the board approved it. And what that we get from them, from the man named Lady Star, is that the board say, yes, we're supposed to get paid. Because it is due to us. And it is due to us, what, it needs to go in 2 years now.
But Sports Minister Olivia Babsy-Grange has urged patience while the institution gets its act together.
A lot of the records are missing, a lot of the information that one would require to ensure that the benefits that are due to employees of in-sports, a lot of that information is missing. So we have to, in a timely way, try to do our research and to put all of that information together to ensure that it's accurate. So those persons who are anxious, I'm sure they recognize what the shortcomings were and why this problem exists.
But that may be of no comfort to Morgan, who gave nearly 4 decades of service to the organization.
I am so hurt. And you know why I hurt? It's 40 years in his half of my life that. You understand? More than half of my life. I mean, produce all Jamaica cricketer. I produce Jamaica, Marlon Tucker, Martinita, all of them youth than my production. True in sports. Whole heap more. Football. Digo Garden. Come through this. Derek Dennis. Ask him if you think a joke, allow me to tell. You understand? And other people.
Spencer Darlington, TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.